Hey Bob, thanks so much for sending in the video. Thanks for trusting me to help you with your tennis game. I'm going to go over a few things that jumped out at me about your strokes. I'm going to touch on your forehand a little bit too, just because I think usually when I see an issue on one side, I see it on both sides in some cases. The issue I'm going to talk about is one of those things I usually see on both sides. And we're just going to start with that real quick on your forehand. Basically, you have a really advanced form of a scoop into the ball, where your brain still wants to determine that upward trajectory from the angle of the racket face and not through friction. And symptoms of this, and basically, you have a very advanced form of it because you hide it well. Someone watching you might not be able to see it without an untrained eye because you do get your racket pretty low and closed, but what you're also doing is you're letting the ball drop low as well. So the angle of your approach into the ball still very seldom is steep enough. Sometimes you do it where you do get about a foot or two below the ball, but a lot of times you're letting the ball drop low. And again, the reason it's so advanced is we're talking half a degrees with the racket face. But remember, in tennis, those half a degrees when you're hitting a ball as hard as you are pretty, they have a major effect on the ball as far as distance. And some symptoms I hope you can feel about this is you're coming in and your brain still knows that it's not going to work. The ball's going to go long if you just relax and swing out. So your body gets really tight because it takes a lot of muscle to make that correction into the hit. And that's oftentimes why you'll feel your follow through shorten, you'll feel your body really tighten up, and now you've just developed this whole swing that's very musculature. And I wonder if you're kind of aware of this because I did see some strokes where your racket face was better and you just kind of fluffed into the ground or into the net. And that's very common for people when you first start working on this, and it will be for you as well. If you're not doing it on purpose and you do start to try to, again, learn to use friction, learn to get that grabbing effect to pull it up rather than that slight scoop, you do miss in the ground a lot. One, because you're not used to having to come from below the ball consistently. Two, because you're not really used to being able to compress and hit through the ball, so your strings aren't really grabbing. You just kind of pull off it too quick. And it's such a subtle thing. There isn't much there aren't really many drills you can do to fix it. When I try to fix it with people, I'm just constantly yelling at them, okay, hit through it, aim higher. I just got to find a way to make them readjust their target and their swing very slightly to get it the right way to go over. So all I can tell you is exaggerate, Bob. Try to make sure, don't just get low. Just telling you to get low doesn't work because then you just let the ball drop low. You got to get steep. You got to get your racket 2 feet below the ball and then hit up more. And this doesn't mean you're hitting a lot of topspin either. This is just necessary to use friction. Even if you wanted to flatten the ball out, you still got to get much further below it on your forehand. Sorry. You have to hit up much steeper on your forehand. And once you get that, Bob, you're going to be able to really just swing out. You're going to feel your whole body relax. It's the feeling you do get sometimes, because I see you do it sometimes, where your arm just relaxes out and it's up over your shoulder and it just looks so loose. You can have that happen much more consistently on your forehand, just by coming to terms with the fact that that approach angle into the ball is what determines it. There is nothing, there's no muscle, there's no motion created during that hit that's going to make that ball have more topspin. All it's going to do is make more timing. It's going to make more muscle recruitment. That's why I'll show you this video real quick where I release the racket before I touch it, and you'll see it's a pretty nice ball. I mean, it makes a nice topspin forehand. So that's the feeling. Once you start your forward swing, your racket should be at the angle where there's maybe some muscle, but it's being used to keep the racket from opening up. And you're just throwing that racket out there. And you're going to have a very different feeling, Bob. You're going to feel your shoulder drop out and relaxed out. And I say that just because, actually, I think your backhand, you strike the ball a little better. It almost looks like you understand that slightly better on the backhand side. I could be wrong, but if not, we've gone over it on the forehand. So now you have that same information on the backhand. It doesn't matter. They're both the same. And that's very important, Bob, because on the backhand, What jumps out to me, and I like the way you asked me to describe this, what jumps out to me? Give you general ideas, because that's how I like to teach, even though I'll give you technical things. Like the forehand general idea, just get lower. Learn there's nothing, the idea, there is nothing you can do during contact. Once you start that forward swing, you should be able to let go of your racket, and whatever happens, happens. The backhand, what jumps out to me is that is someone who's early in their development hit a lot of forehands. Someone made you happy, maybe it was a coach, maybe you just genuinely wanted to hit a lot of forehands. For example, I really notice people who overtrain the forehand at the beginning. Look how my feet are, where my left foot is tilted slightly forward and my back foot is parallel at the baseline. And then I hit, I come up on my back toe, I pirouette on my front foot. Your backhand, watch, your feet are almost the same, but on the backhand side, where your left toe's pointed back and your right foot's parallel, and it almost locks your hips up where you can never really let body segments uncoil properly. So you're going to lose a lot of power by planting this leg here, and you'll see you're kind of always hitting across your body, so you can't really use body segments. So your front foot should actually be tilted here. Bring your back foot up. That should be more parallel, and then you should be more able to use your body segments. A good thing to do is to hit, Bob, and almost make sure you feel that back foot coming around, and just let yourself pirouette around on your front foot. If you feel like your hips get locked and you couldn't do that, that means you probably don't have your feet set up right for the ball. You're not opening up your stance enough. And I don't mean opening up in the sense of like this, not stepping in. I mean opening up in the sense of your foot is closed off, when you try to hit. And then the other thing, Bob, which almost does, you talk about mental deficiencies becoming technical deficiencies. So the backhand, if you don't like your backhand, you're going to be a lot less likely to prepare for it early enough. So your forehand, for example, it's kind of a two-part swing. You kind of get more done earlier, and you're kind of waiting with your racket in that position before you hit. The backhand, you really don't do anything until the ball is on the up bounce, and you'll see it's a very rhythmic, one giant swing to the backhand. So you go down, and then you hit. Whereas if you look at high-level players that love their backhand, they can't wait to hit their backhand, they're going to get more done early. It's more of a two-part swing. And again, I can't express enough how the forehand and backhand, especially a two-handed backhand, are mirror images of each other. Here's a forehand. If I did a backhand without my left hand on it, without my right hand on it, it would just be a left-handed forehand. So if you want to really exaggerate this, Bob, a drill I do with people is you go out, you just drop hit a forehand, working on all that stuff. You take your right hand off now, make sure you choke up on it, and just start trying to duplicate on your backhand with your left hand what you do on your forehand with your right hand, because that's all it is. You'd be preparing a little higher. Again, it's a two-part swing. You'd turn first, and then you hit. So basically what happens is you have a lot to do before you can hit the ball. So you're going to be late more. Your brain has more work to do. When you get more done earlier and you're waiting in kind of a more of a turn position, your brain can absorb other data, like even with the bounce and the spin and what's coming in at you. So your preparation on the backhand needs to be in two parts. And again, you got to work on how you step, how you organize your body to hit it. And again, those deficiencies strike me as just as, usually I see that as someone that neglected the backhand early in their development and then they got locked into some bad habits with it. What can you do to fix that? Well, definitely go out and do that duplication drill. Try to learn a left-handed forehand, choked up, as an exact duplicate of your right-handed forehand. Then eventually you just throw the ball up and then you got a nice backhand with two hands. Again, a lot of it's perceptual. Have a two-part swing. There's no drill for this, but you just got to turn. I guess if there was a drill, it would be like, can I get a little done before the ball passes the net? Now, you should be in a position where you can still move a little bit. You don't have to have the full turn running to the ball like that. That's a little awkward, but get more done earlier, and then you finish the turn, you complete the turn once the ball arrives, and you start your swing. And again, running long distances, you'll have to pump your arms to get there. But say, hey, can I get more done before the ball passes the net? And then again, just you got to wake up in the morning and say, I love my backhand. I love my backhand. And as far as your Topspin Pro, Bob, you just want to take it out and do everything we just said, pretend. So if I was going to do I know your hand's injured, so you can't really go out to the court, but you could do a right-handed forehand, duplicate left-handed forehand, right-handed forehand, left-handed forehand, maybe throw in a two-handed backhand. You can visualize. Here, you see a backhand come. 1, 2. It's 2 parts. It's 1, a half turn kind of, and then 2's the hit. That's what I would do on that. So those are the ground strokes. Now let's get on to the serve. Okay, with the serve, basically, Bob, is you don't want to think that the primary mode of spin is coming more from your back, that you're approaching the ball this way. One, you really have to slow your racket down here so you lose racket head speed. Spin is created from racket head speed. And then the other problem is, again, just like if you swung straight up on a forehand, you'd get too much spin, you wouldn't compress it. If you really think you're swinging straight this way, you would just chop it. You wouldn't get any compression on the ball. So if you're trying to hit a kick serve, remember what really determines the upward trajectory, a higher bounce, is a trajectory more than spin. So the spin just helps you come in at a higher trajectory. But if it's not coming in fast from that trajectory, it's not going to bounce high anyway. So it's speed and trajectory determine how high it's going to bounce, not really the spin. The spin just helps with the trajectory. Now, if you're just trying to hit a spin serve, a forward spin, which you should be doing on your second serve just for safety, that's a different story. But so if you don't come from your back to get spin, what do? Well, you want to think of a few things. Your body as a whole, turning more under the ball. Get your whole body at the angle to get the swing to go more up through the ball and less into it. The racket still will come around to the side. You don't want to lose this little bit of motion here that your racket's building up speed. Maybe it doesn't come quite as much around to the side, but it still has to keep moving around your back. And then, Bob, really keeping your body sideways. You were doing a move where you would freeze like this on your serve. I'd rather see you freeze like this. Really see if you can hug your left side. Really see if you can keep your chest over to the fence. That's going to help you get more spin, opening up less. That's a big difference we see between spin and flat serves on high-level players. Flat their bodies like this, and then spin their bodies like this. And then the other thing, Bob, which is interesting, this roof almost makes me do, is to get spin, your arm is slightly unextended. You have to have room to brush up. So your flat serve contact will be out here at full extension, boom, boom. Your spin serve contact is slightly in here as your racket's still moving up. So think of spin as keeping the body more sideways and unextending the arm slightly to have some room to brush up. Don't think of spin as the racket coming from the back. You're going to lose all your racket head speed. You're not going to compress the ball either. So I'd go out and I'd really just throw that racket around to the side more, get your racket head speed back, and then really hit and freeze like this, Bob. Hit a serve and then don't move like this. Keep your chest up and to the side. And then finally, exaggerate how much you let it drop. Almost feel like the ball's going to hit you on the head, so you have that room to brush up over the ball and up over the net. And again, those aren't exact drills. Those are just things you got to visualize and try to picture next time you go out and hit serves. So I hope those few things help you, Bob, with your tennis game. Let me know through email if you have any questions, and I'd love to know how it works out, if it all makes sense, and what you think. Bob, thanks so much for supporting this online venture by me. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope to work with you again soon. Bye.